The secretary said the two had met at a night school, isn't it? But wasn't it Tae Ho, you had awakened Minchul's consciousness? Park had asked Yoon Wei of swiftly, like a ninja. The flash of a shutter, the burst of light faces. Emerging gray on the print, suspended in chemicals. Then his question, careful yet piercing. Do you think this man lived? A bare-chested figure charging forward, a flag rising behind him. The soldiers taking aim. He seemed already past the line of life. In that frozen instant, it felt inevitable. That the bullet would pierce his chest. It was an easy question, yet I could not answer. He shouted for democracy, for the end of dictatorship. But I didn't want to confirm whether he had survived. Those were the days of reading circles. We read ordinary books, sometimes the banned ones, those seditious volumes. The night school dim bulbs flickering above a narrow room. Children turning pages with bright eyes, boys passing around newspapers. And comrades debating as though we were scholars. On the chalkboard, Labor Union Act. Labor Dispute Mediation Law, Labor Standards Act, white dust blooming like smoke. Under that weak light, we whispered the word freedom. Softly, desperately, gathering unripe ideas, clutching broken philosophies. Binding our fragile memories into one secret refuge. Tae Ho spoke quietly. I came here for money, but this is the first time I've felt free. His voice lowered. Be honest, Tae Ho hung. Weren't you disgusted with yourself coming to Gwangju as part of the suppression forces? His lips trembled. I didn't know then, he said, his voice cracking. I thought orders were everything. That it was about protecting the country. But when I saw people fall before me, I finally understood who my rifle had been aimed at. Then why didn't you desert? There was more sorrow than anger in Minchul's tone. Was he here to expose my hypocrisy or to forgive me? I couldn't tell. You were the one who always spoke of justice, he said. You read of freedom, recited human dignity. But when it came to reality, you did nothing. Minchul looked toward the window, as if watching a shadow drift by. In Garua I spent my days empty, staring at nothing. Justice in books is easy. But the justice of reality, it bleeds in colors we don't understand. He bit his lip. To speak, to awaken someone, it's like trying to grasp air. So I left. That place denied me. In that time, even survival was a choice and a sin. The square no longer demanded justice. It was soaked in dust, blood, and silence. And I couldn't bear the weight of what a human heart must carry. Tae Ho bowed his head. So I've carried it all this time, he said. After that day, I stopped believing I had the right to speak of freedom. That's why I left. For a long moment, Minchul said nothing. Then quietly, none of us have that right. And yet we live on each in the shadow of that day. Some took the blows, some pulled the trigger. What matters is that we don't forget. He handed Tae Ho a cigarette. Didn't light it, just rolled it between his fingers. Then, almost whispering, don't seek forgiveness. Remember, that's the duty of those still alive. Tae Ho, said Secretary Park finally, his voice shifting tone. Ah, youth, those tender, free years. Anyone would envy them. He paused. But tell me, do you understand where you stand now? The sudden drop from formal speech to plain made me strangely at ease. His gaze turned sharply to Peter. Peter, isn't it? You worked with this man for several years. At the photo studio? Yes, sir. About 3 years, Peter replied, sitting stiffly, hands on his knees. In your opinion, Park pressed, why do you think he crossed the border? Peter's voice trembled, but he forced the words out. I believe he lost his way. Lost his way? Park repeated. Strange, how all three of you use the same phrase. He turned toward Alphonse, the local guide. They say you're head of the Makolo Fundamentalist Study Group. Is that true? Alphonse met his gaze squarely. What exactly do you wish to ask? How did you come to know these men? They wanted to explore Cross River Park, Alphonse said carefully. I arranged the route, low cost, manageable. Lost his way, Park murmured again. A flimsy excuse for a professional. But fine. He snapped the file shut. Let's find a solution, then. Report back as soon as there's word on Kim Minchul. 2 folders disappeared into his briefcase. As if sealing away both their past and their future. Ah, he added, glancing at his watch. Yonde prosecutors have filed charges. Prepare your statement carefully. If things go wrong, you'll be in trouble. Once contact is made, call me and go to the embassy. His voice was cold, final. Then he left. Part 5: The Guerrilla Trial. The darkness of the savannah descended outside the glassless window. At every checkpoint, grim-faced soldiers shone their flashlights into our faces. We arrived breathlessly at the Yonde District Court. We had to answer the charges. filed by the International Guerrilla Protection Organization IGPO. We were tied up with rope. 2 guards held our arms, and we waited in front of the door to courtroom 3. Next to the heavy brown wooden door stood a square bulletin board. Newspaper articles were pasted on it. I looked at the names written in the center. Familiar names: Yoon Tae Ho, Alphonse, and Kim Min Chul in remission. Otang's absent. Perhaps the tension of the waiting time had me reading the small article on the bulletin board, word by word. In Uganda, an endangered gorilla was speared to death by a poacher. 4 poachers were arrested for killing Rafiki, a male silverback gorilla. Rafiki was the only silverback in the herd, and experts feared his death could bring about the collapse of the entire herd. It was a short article, but each sentence pounded my chest. I tried to catch my breath, but it only quickened. It felt like what I was reading wasn't just words, but a fate about to befall me. The air in the courtroom was heavy and still, like dust. At the end of the dry season, the room was cool, but not because of the air conditioning. The cold gaze of the audience, piercing through us, chilled the air. My legal representative, Mr. Marian Apongo, quietly approached me. Peter had arranged for me. Tall, with dark-rimmed glasses, he had an intellectual air about him. His speech was calm, but his eyes held the coolness of a trial he'd already witnessed. He spoke in a low voice. "This trial is a summary indictment. It's just a formality." His words seemed reassuring, but deep down, I sensed a chilling reality. He said it was a formality, a reduction in a rather hefty fine. It sounded plausible, but the GO and the prosecution had already reached a pre-arranged agreement. Taking into account the frequent occurrences locally, I was seething. They said I was protected, but this wasn't the first or second time I'd experienced this. It was something I'd have to wait and see. The frustration of not being able to correct anything myself weighed on my chest, suffocating me. In the gallery, people whispered softly and glanced at each other. Some constantly checked their watches, others smiled, glancing at the judge. The 2 poachers on the dock looked exhausted, yet simultaneously trying to maintain a sense of composure. Anxiety welled up in my head, wondering if I might have to cover up the crimes of those who hadn't been summoned. But I couldn't close my eyes. At the very back of the gallery, Secretary Park took his place. His white shirt and neatly combed short hair made him look neat. But the deep shadows under his eyes betrayed his true nature. His gaze swept steadily across the courtroom, seemingly contemplating the outcome and the treatment of the 2 Koreans. At the sight of him, another pressure stirred within me. I could sense that everyone present, each with their own calculations and fears, concealed in their eyes. Even as I tried to catch my breath, the weight seemed to weigh on my chest and shoulders. Peter sat in the center of the courtroom next to the NGO woman. I didn't want to ask if she had sat in the audience next to Peter. Perhaps her photo had been the starting point of all this. The lawyer selection process also seemed to be Madame Marie's work. She was aggressive and meddlesome. After 3 bangs of the judge's gavel, the witness examination and evidence examination began. Alphonse took his seat next to Tae Ho. He sat upright, his hands clasped together in silence. Their gazes briefly met. Peter looked at us and gestured reassuringly. Tae Ho shook his handcuffed hands, but Alphonse showed no response. That subtle distance hid a different anxiety. But there was an empty seat in the courtroom, where they should have been summoned together. Kim Min Chul and Otang sat in the defendant's box next to him. When their names were called, the judge briefly raised his head and flipped through the documents. No summons. The cold words settled into the courtroom. The 2 men's absence cast a heavy weight on the courtroom air, somehow leaving behind a deeper sense of unease than reality itself. The judge shifted his gaze. Defendant, Yoon Tae Ho. He slowly rose from his chair. The wooden floor creaked beneath his feet. The judge's gaze remained impassive, his eyes a gentle, faint smile. The prosecutor's questioning. The prosecutor's documents were spread out on the desk. The prosecutor turned the first page. His voice was calm, but every sentence had a sharp edge. There is evidence that the defendant, Tae Ho Yoon, engaged in the illegal capture and commercial trade of gorillas on May XX, 1985. Within the protected area near Cross River. He held up a piece of paper. Here are some photographs taken by park rangers. A blurry image of the photographs appeared on the screen, causing a stir in the gallery.